You're listening to episode number 58.
Welcome to the Inner Singer Podcast, providing tools and techniques to strengthen your inner singer, your beliefs, your confidence, your mindset. And now, your host for the Inner Singer Podcast, Mike Goodrich.
Well, hey there, everybody. This is Mike Goodrich, and welcome to the Inner Singer Podcast, episode number 58. It's been a while. I've actually really missed doing these. I've been very, very busy, as I'm sure you all have been. And here in the States, we celebrated Thanksgiving. I'm recording this the early part of December 2016. I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but most of the things that I talk about are sort of timeless, which is kind of fun. It's not like I'm talking about a technology that's going to be outdated in 6 months or selling Facebook ads or something like that, right? So most things on singing and the inner singer are pretty timeless. So whenever you end up listening to this, it's just great. Anyway, yeah, I've been real busy creating and putting the finishing touches on the Inner Singer program, which is out now in beta. And I've got some wonderful people in it. Perhaps you're one of them. And if you're not, what are you waiting for? There may still be some spots left. So, assuming you're on my list, if you're on my list, then you've received the opportunity to do that. If you're not on my list, you can go to theinnersinger.com and sign up there. You get a nice free video series in the bargain. And then you find out about all the other things that I'm doing. So if you're not on the list, then maybe you should think about that. That might be kind of cool. Anyway, and I'd love to have you. Anyway, so I hope you're having a great December or whatever month you happen to be listening to this in. And I wanted to chat a little bit today about what I'm calling the singing story. Your singing story. My singing story. And I'll tell you, it was inspired by listening to a talk by John Assaraf, who is a fellow that I have met a few times and worked privately with and worked in a group with. I paid a whole lot of money to be in a group where I could get on the phone every week with him. And I just paid a whole lot of money to be in another program with him because he's really on the cutting edge of what's going on in brain research. And the people that are on his staff are very, very, very highly respected in all this. And so, in an effort to help myself and to help you as well, I want to stay abreast of all that's going on out there with regards to that. And even though, you know that I feel that this all goes beyond the brain as well, I think some significant things that we can do in that regard to help our inner singer be supportive to us. And so I want to kind of share a little bit of a story with you that he talked about, and I'll paraphrase it, of course. And then I'm going to apply it to singing because, heck, if I can figure out a way to apply baseball to singing, then this money ought to be easy, right? So anyway, I heard him talk about this thing that he's calling the money story. And as I was listening, I was thinking, well, that's really significant. And in principle, it's got to be the same. And of course, that's what I teach with regards to singing and the stories that we tell. But what he did was he had... I think he did some research himself and the people that he works with. And what they did, they had a number of people that they asked this question. What financial number would you have to be earning so that you would feel secure, financially free, independent, and had no more money worries? And they asked that of people that made 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, a million, all these different ranges. And apparently, 9 out of 10 times, people would respond with a figure that was twice as much as they were making currently. So if somebody was making 50,000, they'd say, well, if I made 100,000, I would feel that way. I'd feel secure. I'd feel happy, financially free. I wouldn't have to worry about money. And, if they made 100,000, they'd say 200,000. If they made 500,000, they'd say $1 million. So what they did is they tracked with these people as they made more money. And when the original people let's say they earned 50,000, when they started earning 100,000, they raised the bar on what they said would make them feel good and be satisfied and be happy and feel free and financially independent. So if they started at 50,000 and they originally said it would take 100,000, by the time they were making 100,000, they had now raised the bar to 200,000. And if they had originally made 500,000 and said $1 million would make them feel good and free and financially stable and wouldn't have to worry about money, by the time they got to $1 million, they had raised the bar to 2 million. So why is that? And what does this have to do with singing? Well, first I'll tell you obviously what it has to do with money is their money story, right? Their income changed, but their story didn't. So let's sidestep right into singing and say, let's talk about our singing story, because we all have one. We all have emotional triggers and stories that we tell and beliefs that we have and perceptions about our voice and our singing that make up our story about singing. And so much of it is unconscious. And that's the whole point of this inner singer, right? So let me give you an example of what I mean by being a little bit personal with regards to or what used to be, and probably still on some level, is my money story. I think a lot of it has shifted. Certainly hope a lot of it has shifted. Actually, you know what? Let me own it. I know a lot of it has shifted. But this was where it was, and some of it still lingers about. So my money story was, or part of my money story was, I sang and wanted to be an opera singer for years. And my dad had a wonderful voice, but he had trouble getting high notes. My mom had a wonderful voice and had no trouble getting high notes. So, she was kind of the singer in the family. And my dad had a great voice, but didn't really sing anywhere and had trouble with the high notes. And then I come along, and I was really awful when I started. No, I'm not judging myself and being mean. I was just really not good. I mean, I've said this in previous podcasts, so I won't belabor the subject. I had good pitch and all that kind of thing, but I didn't have any vibrato. I couldn't sing high, couldn't sing soft, couldn't sing, whatever. So it really was unpleasant, and it actually hurt. So there was a physical discomfort as I was singing. And so I took on this belief. I started writing this story that my dad and I had unique vocal problems, that we were the two in the world with these potentially really good voices. I just imagined that I had a potentially really good voice. But we had these vocal problems. And so we could bond on that, right? So we bonded with these vocal problems. I even told people about this. These unique vocal problems where we just can't get the high notes. Well, it wasn't more than probably a few months or maybe a year or two into teaching. And I've been teaching for 25 years. So that I realized that was, complete, I'll say baloney, but you know what I'm thinking. So that was just not true, right? That could not be true. I saw people with significant vocal challenges that they were able to overcome, which made ours look very common and average. And so part of my vocal story was I have these unique vocal challenges, right? That not everybody has. And it's going to be hard to find somebody to help me overcome these. Okay, so that's kind of one. Now, on a related note, I wanted to have a really big voice because I idolized all these dramatic tenors with these huge voices. So I pushed my voice into an artificially large size, which it isn't. I have an average size voice. Not a big voice at all, not hugely loud. I can make some noise, but when you put me up against somebody that has a really large, big, strong voice, they'd bury me with their sound. You could probably still hear me, but they're going to be, they're going to ring out above me. And again, I'm not putting myself down. I'm just saying I'm looking at my voice realistically. I'm not a huge guy, like 5'10" or something. I'm not 6'4". So we do have to take that realistic look at ourselves without any negativity or judgment, just a realistic assessment. And so I pushed my voice into these big, huge proportions to try and have a big, large voice. And then a gal one day that I respected said to me, "You're going to have to really rely on having a big, dramatic, strong voice because your voice isn't pretty." Okay, cool. So I took that and I started believing that. So now look at all this ammunition that I have to create my story. And so some of it is this. My voice is big. So what is it with big, large, strong voices? Well, historically, it's believed that they're harder to train, harder to teach, and it's harder to get a handle on them. If you're the singer with the big voice, it's just harder to handle that, right? So that's part of the belief. So, and that may in some regard be slightly true, but I made it a real big thing. So here, I have unusual vocal problems that I'm sharing with my dad. I have an unusually big voice, which makes it harder to sing. And now, my voice isn't pretty, so I'm going to have to rely on having a big, strong voice, which makes me push even harder. Now, look at the story that I'm spinning now about my voice. Look at my singing story at this point. Where do you think that's going to lead me as far as people that I study with? It's going to lead me to people that validate that I have a big voice. It's going to lead me to people that support my unconscious beliefs about my voice. It's going to lead me to people that encourage me learning the wrong repertoire based on the people that I'm drawing to me based on my beliefs. So it's going to result in fulfilling the story that I have about my voice. It's going to be very hard to learn how to sing. I'm going to have difficulty doing that. I'm going to find people that probably can't help me that well while I'm telling that story. Because how could I be telling a story that I have unique vocal problems and it's going to be hard to learn how to sing? How could I spin that story and believe that story and be telling that on an unconscious level and then find somebody that can really help me? Even if they could really help me, I wouldn't believe what they were doing, right? So the story had to shift. And I remember when it did shift, and I won't go into that, but it did start shifting, and I was led to some wonderful people and able to turn all that around. So, but anyway, but that was my vocal story. So I ask you, what is your story about your voice? And if you listen to my podcasts and you resonate with my work and you're, listening to The Inner Singer and you've come to the place where you already know that singing better is not always going to be the answer. Let's relate the money story I told you to the singing story. Let's just take that for example. And we talked about people saying, okay, well, if I earn 50,000 now, when I get to 100,000, I'll be happy, I'll be free, all will be wonderful. Okay, so that with part of my singing story, and part of yours may be, if I could just get this note in this song, I would know I made it. If I could just get another fifth in my voice, if I could just get another 3 notes in my voice, if I could just get my vibrato going, if I could just get my breath control better, if I could sing Love on Top just like Beyonce, I'd be there. Or, whatever. And then I guarantee, and I can guarantee this, from 25 years of teaching vocal technique, at least 10 years or more of teaching performance, and at least 8 years of teaching this inner singer stuff. So there's hardly anything I haven't run across in the field of voice, and hardly anybody I haven't worked with. I can tell you beyond the shadow of any doubt, if somebody has an unconscious vocal story that is running and driving their behavior, they will never, ever be satisfied. And if you have a vocal story that you're unaware of, and you say things like, I know if I could sing that song, that's all I need. I would know that I'd made it. I would know that my voice is where I want it to be. I've reached my potential. And I can guarantee without the shadow of any doubt that by the time you can sing that song, you will have pushed the bar to another song. And I have seen this, like I said, for 25 years. I'll see somebody come in for their first lesson, And maybe they don't do so well. Maybe they don't sing so well. Maybe they need a lot of work. Maybe they don't have any high notes. Maybe they don't have any vibrato. Maybe everything, right? Maybe they just really need a lot of work. And they're thinking, if I could just sing this, I would be so excited. Or if I could just get this high note, I'd be so excited. And a year goes by, and they have far surpassed anything that they had even imagined or desired. And they'll still come into their lessons, and they'll react the same way that they used to if they miss a note. If they sing a song, they'll get discouraged about something no matter how good it was. They'll bring in songs that are so far past where they are, they'll get discouraged that they can't sing them. Or I'll say, I don't think that your voice is not quite ready for this. Let's do this. Oh, they're so discouraged. And I say, let's rewind a year and imagine that you could sing as well as you sing now a year ago. You know how ecstatic you would have been? This is far beyond what you even wanted to be able to do. And yet now you've raised the bar. And why have they done that? They've done it unconsciously because they're running something in their singing story, their vocal story, with this little key phrase in it that's just running beneath the level of their conscious awareness. And that little key phrase is, there's never going to be enough. My voice will never be enough. I am not enough. I am not worthy. And so no matter how good they get on the outside, if that story doesn't shift, they'll never be satisfied. They'll never be happy. And they're going to keep raising the bar every time they reach a potential goal. Let's call it a goal. Every time they get to where they wanted to be, and they thought that was going to make them happy, they're going to get there, and they're not even going to recognize that they got there because they're already chasing a movable horizon. They'll never catch it. So the reason I bring this up is because it's so important for us to become aware of what's running us and what's running our voices, the stories we tell about our voices. So what is your singing story? What do you believe to be true about your voice? Dig in and ask yourself some questions. Emotionally, do you look to your voice to make you feel good? If you sing badly, do you feel bad? Do you make singing badly on any given day mean more than it means? Are you making singing mean more than it means? Singing is just singing. It's great. I love it. I've, devoted the better part of my adult life to learning how to do it and teach it. But it's just singing. It's great. We love it. But it's not who we are. It's what we do. And it's fun. If we make it about singing is who I am, and we begin to attach our identity to it, and we begin to tell all these stories about it, then if we have certain stories about our identity or our self-worth or our self-esteem or our self-confidence, that's going to be unconsciously written right into our singing story. And whatever the story is that we're telling about ourselves, the singing story will reflect and validate. So I may not have a tremendous answer for you today because this is a process of uncovering, of becoming aware, of becoming mindful. Not that you have to run out and do anything, but dig a little and see if there are any patterns there. Are you finding this? Are you running into the same things vocally over and over again? Have you bought online courses and studied with teachers and, done everything that you've heard you're supposed to do, and you're still kind of hitting a fence, hitting a wall? Take a look at your story. Start asking yourself, what am I telling here? What story am I telling about my singing? What is my singing story? Is that, wow, I can have the voice of my dreams? I love my voice. Singing is so much fun. I just love to sing. I just love to make sound. What is your vocal story? Or is your vocal story, oh, I'm nervous to sing in front of people because they might not like me, or I don't want to sing for myself because what if I don't do well? I'm going to really feel bad about myself, or I really need to sing well to make me feel good, or if I could sing that song, it'd make me feel great and I could impress people and I'd feel really good about myself, but yeah, I can't really sing it that way, or I feel really bad about myself and I'm just not going to be able to validate myself with this person or that person. I mean, really do some digging. Ask yourself some questions. See if you can come to, what is my vocal story? And is it supporting me? Is the vocal story that I consciously and unconsciously wrote supporting my inner singer? Is this supporting me and what I want to do with my voice? And if it isn't, then let's see if we can rewrite this. Okay? But first start with the awareness. First start with uncovering what story you're telling. Alrighty? Well, that's it for now. I see I'm right at 20 minutes. I actually thought this would be shorter today. If you're interested, then I do a whole lot of things in the new Inner Singer program that can help you with this. Help you discover your story, help you rewrite the story a little bit. And like I say, we're still open for beta. And if we're not open for beta, depending on when you're hearing this, it's just open, perhaps. So anyway, the way to find out about it now is to go to theinnersinger.com and go ahead and sign up for the free video series if you haven't already, and then you'll be on my email list and you'll find out about everything. And of course, by the time you get to theinnersinger.com, perhaps I will have actually gotten a link to the Inner Singer program, which I don't have yet, but perhaps I will have done that. Okay, so anyway, all the best to you. I hope you've enjoyed this. I really miss doing these. It's been my pleasure. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Inner Singer podcast. And please share this with all of your singing friends. And head on over to iTunes and subscribe. And if you found it of value, give us a nice rating. Thanks so much.